After 16 years of being a Certified Lymphedema Therapist, or CLT, I find it amazing that I still get the same question almost every time a new patient walks into my clinic. And I see patients every day, and it is a lot of patients who want answers. And the question goes something like, how come I never knew about my lymphatic system? What is my lymphatic system supposed to be doing? How many lymph nodes do I have, and why does it matter that I only had 5 removed? And why didn't anyone ever tell me that I might get lymphedema? So let's start with the basics and talk a little bit about what our lymphatic system does under normal circumstances. Because everybody knows about our other system in our body that moves fluid, and that's our blood circulatory system. And that system has a pump, our heart. Our heart pumps blood and oxygen and nutrition to all of our body organs, including our skin. And all of this nutrition and fluid exchange occurs at our blood capillaries, and then the deoxygenated blood is picked up by our venous system, brought back to our heart and lungs, and this process goes in a circular motion over and over and over again. But there is still another really important system that's moving fluid in our body, and that is our lymphatic system. And our lymphatic system works by picking up all of the debris and gunk and stuff that is too big to fit back into our blood circulatory system, or that needs to be filtered and cleaned in order to keep us as healthy as possible under normal circumstances. So where all of that fluid exchange and nutrition exchange is occurring at our blood capillary level, that's where our lymphatic system actually begins. So you can see here in the bottom corner of this picture, our little green projection here, and that's called our lymph capillary. And lymph capillaries are all over our body, all underneath our skin, in that fatty tissue or in our interstitial spaces where all of that fluid is starting to build up from our blood circulatory system. So this little green projection is actually made up by a single layer of epithelial cells that lays right next to each other. And these cells open and close in order to bring fluid into our lymphatic system. Well, how do they open and close? Well, they open and close by changes in pressure. So when that fluid starts to build up, the pressure opens up those lymph capillaries, allows fluid in, and then it closes again. So this is constantly happening to draw fluid into our lymphatic system. But what you can also see attached to these little green projections are all of these thin brown lines with little feet grabbing onto these lymph capillaries. And these little feet are actually called microfilaments. Now, they end on the lymph capillary, but on the other side, they actually attach to the inside of our skin. So a certified lymphedema therapist learns how to properly mobilize and manipulate the skin in order to move those filaments, to open up those epithelial cells and further allow fluid into our lymphatic system. So once the fluid has entered into our lymph capillaries, the pressure of the fluid brings it a little bit deeper into our pre-collector vessels. And then these pre-collector vessels move deep into our body and become very organized lymphatic vessels or lymph collectors. Now you can see in this picture that these lymph vessels have valves all along them. And now these valves open and close based on this fluid movement to promote fluid moving only in one direction. So under normal circumstances, we don't have any backflow or backup of lymphatic fluid. And these lymph vessels are bringing the lymph fluid to the lymph nodes. And the lymph fluid is going to go through many, many lymph nodes on the way to the end of the system. And at each and every lymph node, the lymph node is working hard to filter out any cellular debris, any garbage that our body wants to get rid of, any cancer cells, any tattoo ink, anything that our body just can't process and get rid of, it will then store in the lymph nodes. And this is why our doctors are looking at our lymph nodes to see if any cancer cells have been stored or moved to them. that as the fluid continues to move from lymph node to lymph node to lymph node, eventually it will be pulled into this main lymphatic vessel deep within our trunk called our thoracic duct. Now, in reality, the thoracic duct is maybe the width of a pencil or our pinky finger, but probably not even. But liters of fluid are moving through this one vessel deep in our abdominal cavity, deep in our chest wall, to help move fluid all the way to the end of that cavity where it dumps back into our blood circulatory system. Now, it should be noted that there is a smaller thoracic duct on our right side that moves a much smaller percentage of fluid. And that's why I always harp on diaphragm breathing, because this vessel goes right through our diaphragm muscle, which lays on the inside of our rib cage and our abdominal cavity. And with deep abdominal breathing, we get this pumping effect from our diaphragm muscle that actually helps pump fluid even more throughout our lymphatic system. Because as you may have heard or not heard, there is no pump moving our lymphatic fluid like there is with the blood circulatory system. It's pressure differentials in the fluid, it's our hands, it's breathing, it's muscle contractions that all help pump lymphatic fluid within our body to where it's supposed to be going. Without any of this pump action, lymphatic fluid won't move properly, and it will also start to pool in our limbs, usually in our legs. Now, this is what happens a lot in patients with venous insufficiency. The veins stop working properly, so they can't uptake that fluid initially, and then it starts to sit within our legs in that interstitial space, and eventually our lymphatic vessels are overworked and they can't remove that lymphatic flow either. So that's why a lot of patients with venous insufficiency get lymphedema. So what happens when our system is impaired? And how does our system get impaired? Well, our lymphatic system is impaired when lymph nodes are removed during cancer surgeries. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 lymph nodes or if it's 20 plus lymph nodes. Every lymph node drains a particular area of the body, and most of the time testing is not done to see where the lymph nodes are draining. So even just 1 lymph node can impair lymphatic flow to a certain area of the body. Additionally, radiation is really important to kill any lingering cancer cells that might be in our body. But radiation can also damage our lymph vessels and our lymph nodes and make them hard and fibrotic or scarred, which means that the vessels won't move fluid properly, the valves may not work, and the lymph nodes may get so scarred that they can no longer filter lymph fluid appropriately. So the combination of radiation and lymph node removal work together and cause lymphedema in many of the patients that I see on a day-to-day basis. This is why I always recommend that as soon as you know that you're going to have surgery, or as soon as you start to feel even the littlest bit of pressure buildup or fluid buildup in your limbs, please come see a certified lymphedema therapist. The earlier we can see what's going on and help manage the swelling, the better off you will do. And sometimes when it's caught really early, lymphedema can be reversed in certain circumstances and also in the earliest phases. And sometimes a much more intense therapy is required in order to manage the fluid buildup. So no matter where you are on the continuum, please see a CLT to help you understand what's going on with your body and so that your particular needs can be met. Let me know what other questions you have, what else you want to know, and what else you need to understand before you go in for your surgery so that you can be better prepared once you come out. My name is Lisa Berman Sylvestri. I'm a physical therapist and a certified lymphedema therapist, and my goal is to make us all lymph smart.